Well, this is probably much better than last time when we were at like a construction.
Well, there's gonna be there's gonna be some stuff. All right, let's do a little.
Trial.
Is there a name? Oh. All right, so let's do like a little sound test here. Just see how it feels to talk about it.
No, you started.
No, I mean just a literal sound test.
Can we?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
So let's find out. Since the answer really is no.
Oh, you can?
Well, not through these, which I'm going to take off anyway.
Oh.
But like, it's weird that it's taking that long. I mean, it's not like it's
You're
a
good.
long time.
Cheyenne's behind you. Say hi to Cheyenne.
Jesus Christ. My only fear is that like
we're gonna start talking.
There's no sound, and it's like we're not. I can't deal with that. I mean, I can, but I don't.
Oh, here we go. Try it.
Still uploading or processing. Oh, okay. Well, maybe like.
Yeah, you can hear it.
You know what? I'm glad I can hear it.
You can hear it just fine.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Let's find out. Okay. Welcome to Grip and Contemplate. I'm Chris.
And I'm Brittany.
And this is a real space for real people to have real conversations.
We're here to experience real thoughts and feelings, but just be warned, there may be some oversharing.
Okay, good. Let's do it.
I like the countdown.
That's good. Hey everybody, welcome to Grip and Contemplate. I'm Chris.
And I'm Brittany.
And this is a real place for real people to have real conversations.
We're here to experience real thoughts and feelings, but just be warned, there may be some oversharing.
Yes, there's probably going to be a lot of oversharing, which I think is important. I don't like it.
So today we're going to talk about, kind of introduce ourselves, how we met, and then how this podcast kind of came about. So I'm going to give you the floor first.
Are you going to let me go first? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we met, I want to say, is it almost 10 years ago? Maybe not. Maybe it's only about 8.
No, I think it was.
But it feels
like 2015.
Yeah, it's gotta be
maybe
around
2016. So like 9 or 10.
9 or 10-ish, right? So at that point, my wife and I and our 2-year-old daughter then, maybe less than 2, maybe closer to 1. Yeah, it was closer to 1. Moved from Barrington to Dover, and I'd been like working out in my basement for a long time. I looked for a gym and there was some stuff, but after a while it just became like, okay, well, I have to drive a fairly long way to get there, and it's just easier to do it from home. And also I was traveling a lot for work because I was out on the road sales rep at that point, so working out from home was easier. And then we moved to Dover, and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't know really where this came from in my head. Like the word sort of powerlifting just came into my head. And I was like, okay, because I was like, I would like to be as strong as I look. Because at that point, I was like, I am not as strong as I look. So I was like, well, I want to see if I can fix that. So I just Googled powerlifting gyms, and it just happened to be that there was a place called Iron Empire, which was very new, that had just opened. And so I was like, okay, I'll go down there. And I met Anthony, I think, before I met the owner at that time, John. And I was like, oh, hey, what's up, man? I'm Chris. And Anthony, it was so crazy to think about all he's accomplished since I've met him and I've known him. But he was just starting out coaching, or close to just starting out coaching. And, he was like how many of us are when they like coach something that they really love to do. They're like, I don't really want to sell you on this. And like, this is what I cost, if that's okay. And I'm like, listen.
Say no more.
Say no more. First of all, I train salespeople, so I'm going to do this for you. This is what you think this is what you're worth? Great. That's what you're worth. Probably should charge me more, but we can start for this now. I'm going to sign up for as many lessons as you will take, and we can start as soon as possible. And he's like, okay. So that's how it happened. And then, I don't think it was really that much longer after that. Couldn't have been really. Taking a couple lessons of music, but like sessions with Anthony. And then, and we were at the backside of the gym where all the benches were. Mm-hmm. And there was like a really big, really nice universal setup about 30 feet away. And that's the first time I saw you. You were doing pull-ups. And you were finished with your probably set of 25 or whatever. Like, dropped down and walked by. And I turned to Anthony, I was like, holy shit, who is that? Her back looks unfucking believable. And he goes, yeah, well, that's the one that got away. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I've been trying to talk to her into powerlifting forever. But she's not into it. And I was like, she's doing more, I guess, bodybuilding thing. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, because I wanted to look like fucking DLB.
Yeah, well, who doesn't?
Yeah.
I would happily look like DLB now. So that's just the first time I saw you. But I think the first time I met you couldn't have been that far after that where I introduced myself. And then...
I think you were working out with Anthony.
Probably.
When we first met.
I don't think I said... I mean, you probably don't even remember... Because it really wasn't an interaction. I don't think you even remember that, right?
I honestly think I was having like a conversation with Anthony and you were there.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
So it wasn't like you came up and you were like, hey, I'm Chris. I think you were just like happened to be
there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, so however it happened, we talked, I think, briefly.
Yeah.
Not we were there a lot at the same time, I think. So there was more like, hey, how you doing? Pretty frequently. And I remember one conversation I remember, and this is getting into the weeds, but whatever, that's what this podcast is for. I remember that you and I had been talking enough to where we felt comfortable joking about relationships at least.
Yeah.
And I remember this. It was so clearly. It was, I think we had this conversation, I swear to God, on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And the conversation was, wedding rings are stupid. Engagement rings are stupid. Because you're going to spend all that money on something when you could just buy a couch.
Yeah.
That next fucking day, it had to be Friday or Saturday, your Instagram post was Andy proposing to you, and you had the ring. And I was like, so you walked in on Monday, and I was like, what happened to the plan?
That had to have been, because he didn't propose until 2017.
So it had to, okay, so we knew each other for a bit then.
Yes.
But you were, yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, but that's within that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Sid was born December 2013.
Yeah.
And so we would have, obviously we would have met each other very closer to 14. And yeah, all right, that fits.
So it was shortly after, because even if, say, we met each other in 2016, then it would have been like a year after. But we, like, we had our fair share of shit during that time. But.
Yeah, well, that's right. And so I think we just started talking more and more. And at least for me, I just became, people who know me and eventually will know us, like, they know I talk to pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you don't say.
Anyway, sometimes when people come into the gym, like, it's usually, I actually feel weird if I don't introduce myself to them. Like, I don't want them to feel like they're not welcome here, so I just always
so nice. Well, did you hear what I won't digress.
Well, you will, and I will too.
I know.
Maybe we'll try to limit the digression.
Yes.
At this point. So I don't know, I just remember, talking more and more, and obviously each conversation probably got a little bit longer than the last. And we obviously had some shared passions. We cared very much about like working out. We thought it was really fun, and we liked talking. But it's funny. I wish I could remember the moment where our conversations became more personal. Like we've always had fun aspects, but they were definitely over time they started to become much deeper conversations. And over time I realized, at first I was like, oh, we have a lot in common, that's really fun. Yeah. And then after a while I was like, wow, we have a lot in common. And then over time, just like every once in a while, you have like a really special connection with someone. I've always felt that. And, and I think I just think it sort of progressed from there. And the more and more comfortable we became with each other, I think more and more we felt that we were, I guess, simpatico is how you want to say it, And over the years, we've definitely helped each other through some very difficult moments because we really trust each other.
Correct.
And feel very comfortable. And we've talked about this, and I probably, well, at this point maybe the podcast is already more popular, so at least 5 of the people listening. Like how very, very rare it is in life to have someone that you feel like really understands you.
Yes. Is
an extreme rarity, and I feel very, very lucky to have that with you. And it was probably, I just think you sort of like revelations, I guess, take time, but I've felt that about our relationship for a while now, probably several years if I'm really thinking about it, maybe even longer than that. But that's what one of the things that I think I've just really enjoyed. Obviously, very sense of humor and all that other stuff, but that always feeling understood is so powerful, and it's one of the things that I've always really appreciated the most about it.
100%.
Yeah, and which I also think also makes it difficult to remember instances in time, because when you're really close with somebody, it becomes very difficult to remember discrete moments because it all sort of blends together. I feel like I've known this person forever, so
my brief, so we knew John and Jen from Best Fitness in Nashua. And then we had moved to Raymond. And so Andrew...
where were you before?
Best Fitness.
No, I mean, were you always living in Raymond? Not always,
no,
obviously, but...
Merrimack.
Oh, okay.
We were in Merrimack before that. And then, so Andrew worked in Dover, obviously, at the time. And then John and Jen were opening up Iron Empire, which was obviously completely out of the way for me, but
which is that's a long drive.
And to be honest with you, I don't know what made me start there because I was going to the zoo in Barrie on my work days.
Which, from what I've heard, a great gym too. So
it is as well. But I think Iron Empire is live for your diet. It's a niche.
It is niche, yeah.
And just the close knit group.
I was gonna say, there is a community there, or there was there and is here, which is really rare.
100, which I don't think you kind of get at the more commercial.
I don't think they're too big. For that, and sort of because of that, I think it's not like communication's discouraged. It's just it's too big to have. It's very hard to be. The personality of the gym is so diluted. That it's hard to have connections like that.
But I remember walking in, and I remember Anthony.
You can't forget.
No, I know. Anthony. And I remember he did try talking me into powerlifting for the longest time.
Of course.
And I was like,
because you walked in with those shoulders, and he was
I was like, no way, I'm eating my jasmine rice, and I'm gonna look like DLQ.
Right.
And I can't, to be honest with you, I can't remember when I made the change to powerlifting, but I remember seeing Anthony. I do remember having a conversation with him, and you were there one time.
Yeah.
And then I remember Adam and Harry always.
Yeah, of course.
And then my first thought was everyone in this gym is juiced out.
Well,
because you see your size, and I'm like, there's no fucking way he's natural. And then I saw your calves, and I'm like, nope.
No, he's not only is he juicing, he's obviously using fucking site oil and everything else.
But yeah, I just remember the community there, and then as we started getting closer, same with Harry and Adam too. Just the conversations and connections, totally different than anything else I had ever experienced.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think. When did we start talking about a podcast? A couple years ago?
Yeah, so weirdly, it's actually, it's fairly recent if you really think about it. I think the first time it happened was probably, so for my 40th birthday party, you and Jody had planned a surprise party at the gym, which was amazing. I remember being bummed
out. But that's LFOD. That was when LFOD started.
Yes, that's right. So that's right. That was post Iron Empire, but pre-COVID.
Correct.
So, we had that party there, and then lots of people came to it, which still blows me away. And then they brought their kids. It was cool. They brought their kids to this gym. It was fun. It was a great night. It was really, really amazing, and I really appreciate you guys doing that for me. It made me feel very special. And briefly before my brain discounted any positive emotions. But briefly,
we do love you,
we do,
Chris.
Yeah, we briefly did.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But then I remember we were hanging out at the end, and there was Matt there with his old girlfriend, and a couple other people just hanging around in the office. And I remember we were just talking, just shooting the shit or whatever. And either she had said something about it, or more than one person had said, either during it or after, like, we loved listening to you guys just talk to each other. And I was like, oh, we should do a podcast, ha ha ha. And then, I think we would have liked to do it, but I don't think anything really, obviously nothing really transpired of it. Then later on during COVID, I think we had a conversation over the phone.
Yep.
Around other people, because I was home, but you were at somebody's house, whatever, I don't remember. And we had a conversation then, and I think what you told me afterwards, obviously I hung up.
Yeah.
That people were like, hey, you should do a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It came up several times.
Oh, so yeah.
So I think the idea had been floating around for a while.
Yeah.
And then we had seriously talked about it, but like...
Well, it's hard, the other thing is, we did seriously talk about it a lot. We tried to plan a couple days, but...
And then I pushed the baby out of my...
Well, that's right. And I think that's a big thing to remember. Like, that's,
Awesome.
Yeah. And not only did you, bring a life into this world, but we live an hour apart.
Yeah.
Which, even when you're, single, that's a lot to, to... Because you're not talking about stopping by for half an hour. It's a big thing. So...
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time coming. Yeah. So that, which has been cool though, because I think it's given some opportunity to think about, well, how do we really want to do this? But,
yes.
But yeah.
That was the birth of our podcast.
That was the birth of the podcast. Yeah, that's right. So how do you remember it from your perspective?
The birth of our podcast, or us meeting?
Well, yeah, and maybe I already described it in what I was saying in terms of how you remember us meeting, but maybe there really wasn't much to say about it at that point. Or do you remember?
Well, I do, I remember going in being kind of intimidated, only because, here I am doing bodybuilding sets of 20, eating jasmine rice for every meal, and
that story is coming, folks. By the way, that is a great story.
But
I thought you were juiced out of your gourd too. I was like, "There's no way this chick is that." Listen, I wish I took a picture. Your back looks even better now. But I remember then it was just like, it was like, how the fuck? Because I thought the same thing. Am I the only person in this gym not on the needle? Like, everyone in that gym was jacked.
Yeah, but I looked at you guys and I was like, all of these people are juiced out of their minds. And then I, honest to God, thought that that's all powerlifting was. I was like, powerlifting.
A lot of powerlifting.
I know.
It's not the worst.
It's not completely inaccurate. Right. But I remember seeing you guys and I'm like, that's what powerlifting is. It's just like these juiced out junkies that are just trying to fucking lift as much as they can, which is not at all what it is.
No, actually, it turns out it's a bunch of wildly type A, really smart, unbelievably anxious, wound way too tight people who are just trying to take a break from the crushing thought tornadoes in their head.
And then I realized, oh my God, these are my people.
These are great. Where have these people been my whole life?
So then I think I started seriously talking to all of you guys.
Yeah.
Pat was there too.
Pat, who is still unbelievable. What we're talking about? Pat.
No, Anthony's Pat.
Anthony's Pat.
Oh my God, I forget. I don't know why his last name is escaping me. Anyway, we'll have to ask Anthony.
Yeah.
But I started talking to all you guys, and you started kind of convincing me to switch to powerlifting.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it was you one time where I remember coming in.
I was trying to sell you on it for a while.
Yeah. I remember coming in and I was pseudo powerlifting. I was trying to get into it, but I couldn't get away from my high rep sets.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really progressing as I could be, as you guys kind of pointed out, because you're you're a fucking idiot. You can't come in here and try to do a 1 rep max deadlift while doing 20 sets of RDLs in between.
Especially if you do it before.
Exactly. So I remember really connecting with you guys on that level. And then I think as we started, as you pointed out, as we started talking deeper, I was like, wow, we have a lot in common.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just with Stephanie, who she was really happy about this podcast. I feel really lucky to have a special connection with you guys.
Yeah.
Especially because I think some people go throughout life like not finding that.
I think so too. I mean, it's, that's obviously, and actually I think also that's one of the driving forces behind this podcast, even beyond the fact that we would want to do it just to hang out.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I've spent more time talking to you in the last 2 weeks, like face to face, than probably the last 6 to 7 months combined.
Yes.
Because you're busy, I'm busy, we both have families, like it's hard to, But with this, you're like, okay, we're actually cutting out time to do this thing.
Yeah.
So that's been cool. But yeah, no, I think a lot of people, it's hard because, one, you have to be willing and be in an environment where you feel that it's safe to open up. And various personalities are going to have different parameters for that. But even still, it's going to be hard to do that. And, statistically, it doesn't seem likely to find someone that you have a lot in common with, especially, more than one person, which is.
And we've been lucky enough to meet many. And honestly, I think that's what's going to be so special about this podcast is that there are going to be so many people that we can have on and share our connection with.
Yeah, for sure. And give us an opportunity to know things more about them. Because in a weird way, this is I think one of the purposes of it, or one of the fallouts will be just an opportunity almost like a newsletter for your entire group of friends.
Correct.
Assuming you fucks listen. But yeah, we're like, I wonder what this is up. Because, if we have Andy on, Jody on, Sydney on, just a different perspective on different people like Jerry.
Yeah.
All the people that we know and getting a chance to tell their story where it doesn't have to be in 5 minutes. It's like,
correct.
Hey, and obviously, we'll tell our stories as this thing continues. Like, when you do college and all that other stuff. But that's one. And then the other one, I think, is, that whole, a real place for real conversation. I think, in the mental health world, which is expansive, one of the things that we talked about in the support group, we'll talk about this in the next episode probably, but I had a huge issue with OCD, and I didn't know I even had OCD until this point. We'll talk more about that later, but in the support group setting, and in talking with other people, there is a feeling of being uniquely broken, which is, you realize that, everyone else has problems, but my problems are unique, and not in look how special I am, more like, whatever therapies and cures there are won't work for me. And because inside that feeling there's often always despair and depression and self-loathing, that even if those therapies worked, I wouldn't be worth saving. And that, unfortunately, is a big component to those challenges. And I'm trying to, I don't know that I can think of someone that I've talked to who's dealt with any kind of mental health challenge who didn't experience that for at least some of the time.
Well, and I think, to be honest with you, I think that saying that goes along with the gym is we're here because we're not all there.
Yeah.
A lot of us face, at a different level, but a lot of us face it. And I think the gym is just a nice outlet to feel normal being abnormal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's one of the things that community, of course, is it's very important to people as a species, you're pack animals, but it's actually harder, I think, now, because on paper it should be easier.
Yeah.
On paper it should be you have all these different groups on all these social media platforms and all these people, but there's something very, very different about being in a space physically together.
Well,
and experiencing that.
I think it brings it back for our love for the gym.
Yeah.
So I think this podcast will create another sense of community in our gym community.
Yeah, for sure.
And, for anyone who wants to feel confident coming into the gym, don't come into the gym when Chris and Harrison are there.
Listen,
wearing a white and gray outfit in particular.
This is... Okay.
Because Chris... I'll tell the quick story of I came into the gym wearing a white leggings and a white and gray shirt.
Which did look great.
I felt super good about myself.
And you should have. You look fantastic.
I walked in and immediately, Chris, I think at a level 10 was
there wasn't, there was
hey Bernie, looking like drywall. I'm like, okay, great. This is just great. And then Harrison from the other side of the gym.
Looking like a glass of milk.
And those who are wondering, I do not still have that.
Which is a tragedy, really, because it did look great. You know, but that's how you can tell that we love you.
That is our story, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
And why we started this podcast.
So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get some value out of it too. And if you only find it amusing, that's totally cool too. But our hope is that you'll find some sense of community and sense of understanding, and not feel alone, because we're all carrying something, and usually more than one thing.
Yes.
So the Venn diagram for this could be pretty close for everyone. But yeah, that's why we do it, and we hope you really enjoy it. And also for suggestions for topics, or desires to be a guest or whatever, like we have an email now, and it's gripandcontemplate@gmail.com.
Yep.
But you can also DM us on the
Instagram page.
And we'll put it out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, I think, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We really looking forward to talking with you.
Until next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.
You want to listen back to it?
Yeah.
Why are you talking to like a phone sex operator?
That was good.
That was good.
I like that.
I like that too.
I think this. So, I tried to create an Apple account for us, right? But it's linking it to all my Apple products.
So we would need to establish a separate account.
But I think, even if we do it to just to Spotify and YouTube for now, until we can figure out how to do it to the Apple Podcast, I just think a lot of people have the Apple Podcast.
I think. So what is Apple's thing? Like you have to have
like an Apple